This is Ace. Welcome, Monks and Mavericks. I'm sitting here with the Dave Taylor, Dave, El Daverino, if brevity isn't your thing. Dave heads up FLC Knives, or Fat Lazy Cat Knives, amongst many other things. We'll get Dave to introduce himself, and we're going to get into it.
Hey guys, I'm David Taylor. It's good to be here.
Who are you? Why are we here?
It's a long story, man. What did we start talking 10 years ago via the internet?
D2A popped onto Instagram in 2013. You've been doing FLC Knives
Since 2015.
Yeah, but you were in the community before that, I think.
Oh yeah, I was doing other ventures
Yeah.
and definitely immersed in the space.
Yeah.
I went back through our messages because I was curious about that exact thing. We exchanged messages in 2015.
Okay.
So Facebook,
Mhm.
Instagram.
So one of the things I find interesting about actually, let's start with what's FLC Knives? What is that?
So FLC Knives is, FLC stands for Fat Lazy Cat. And that name comes from page 11 of Rory Miller's book, Meditations on Violence.
Okay.
Right? I was having a heck of a time coming up with a name. And I was really struggling with this idea. Am I taking myself too seriously? And I felt like maybe I was.
There's so much of that.
Yeah. And it's hard not to do because you're trying to make the right choices that are going to stand the test of time and not screw up your brand, yada, yada, yada. So, starting out, I was thinking about all these things. And
But also in like the EDC
yeah,
tactical-ish space, like there's a lot of guys just acting like they're hard as woodpecker lips, and it's just like, calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go there at all. And, who has the headspace as well if you're doing a lot of things. So a friend who I met through work actually lent me the book, Meditations on Violence. I read it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But what came really stuck into my head was on page 11, there's a reference to a fat, lazy cat, right? So in the context of that page, what jumped out at me was it's a good reminder about your purpose, right? So I'd encourage everyone to at least read page 11. But I contacted Rory and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I think that it's a good reminder, if not for other people, but for me, to just be conscious and mindful of my purpose. And I have to name my company something. So I said, I want to call it FLC based off Fat Lazy Cat from your book. And he said, yeah, that's awesome. So here we are.
I've never seen anything from Rory or heard anything about Rory that isn't Rory's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. I enjoyed his book. And I mean, I was fairly marinated in the space at that time.
Sure.
So I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty valuable. And I mean, he's a corrections worker. So to go out and write a book that was, made sense, was an interesting read. I thought he did a pretty good job, right? And there's quite a few anecdotes in there that were also just sort of funny / interesting.
Well, and having quite a few friends that are in corrections or screws,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a great insight into what point-driven methodology looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, Rory's can have a strong kind of background in that, and even just going through, he's got a video where he talks about joint locks and like there's a way in and a way out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And goes through and unwinds. He said, and he pulls people up, put me in whatever. Just starts, okay, this is how it comes out. This is how it comes out. He's got a lot of really good material.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not full of a bunch of bravado, which is harder to find than it should be.
Yeah. And I mean, it's unfortunate. There's guys who have his level of experience or even more that are still full of it. Right. And that's very unfortunate. But he seems like a very down to earth guy who's easy to chat with.
Absolutely. So what is the specialty or the focus, the wheelhouse of FLC Knives? Actually, let's rewind and talk about how it is you even got into the space.
The space. So when I was a little guy, I was born with a fascination for sharp objects.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, probably lots of people can relate to that. it just never faded.
Okay.
Right. I had this desire to learn to be proficient in combatives and the use of the tools within that space. And, you know, it was difficult. My parents didn't want me to do these things. So in the early days, I focused on my outdoor skills, right? I got into survival training and bushcraft, and I did
Okay.
tons of that with an older cousin. And so that just progressed as soon as I made my first knife with my dad when it was somewhere before the second grade, right? So we took the piece of metal off the back of an old stove, great
Okay.
quality steel, by the way, and carved out a blade.
Sure.
Kind of it resembled the home hardware survival knife with the hollow handle, like
Okay.
that
Yeah.
from back in that day, because that was the pinnacle of blades in my mind. I had no idea.
Anyone that watched Rambo would agree.
Yeah, I was that big, right? It was
Yeah.
just so we made one of those and carved up a piece of broom handle, put some bolts through it, filed an edge on it, and I walked up the stairs in the basement, and my mother took it from me, and I didn't see it for years because she lost it. So that was my first knife.
Okay.
Right. So that interest just never faded. That is literally why I got into manufacturing. I wanted to be able to make my own stuff. Growing up, seeing my dad do things, right? So I just kept pursuing it, and I finally was able to train in various arts, and I just started making things in my spare time, and it just evolved and evolved. And through doing it, I got my own opinions. Train, make a trainer. Train with your buddies, try it out, make a live version, pressure test it, right? So you're pressure testing the accessibility and actually keeping hold of in a scuffle, a trainer, and then actually making the live version if you liked it and testing that out, right? Which is very easy because we grew up in, hunting and fishing land. So there was a lot of meat being cut. And so it was quite a crucible for that sort of thing. And it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. And I found myself really wanting to focus on just pure function. I don't like fluff. I don't like bells and whistles. I just want something that works. So I've tried really hard to keep simple designs that have really decent sheathing systems. Because I feel like you can have a really cool knife, but the sheath is what's going to get it left in your sock drawer. If you can't carry the thing, never mind deploy it under pressure. If you can't carry the thing comfortably. So I've really spent a lot of effort and time focusing on that. That is what keeps me up at night thinking about how to fix a problem.
There's so many companies where the sheath is the afterthought.
Yeah.
Right? It's
100%.
hey Jimmy, just throw some Kydex around it.
Right? They all have the same sheath.
Like that, and it sucks.
150 model catalog, and they all got a little canoe paddle for a sheath.
And it doesn't need to.
It's like we can do better, people. We literally can, and it's not hard.
100%. And I mean, like I remember, I would show you my age a little bit, but like I remember when the only game in town was a tech lock and some Kydex, right? And that was the pinnacle, right? It's just like, and now I see a tech lock and I'm just like, that is so big and so clunky, and it doesn't need to be.
No, there's very few instances that are solved well with a tech lock, in my opinion.
Maybe a Molly application, but like for me, like I'm not walking around battle rattle. It's not my lifestyle, right? So I like stuff that typically inside the waistband, right? I need stuff that's low profile.
Yeah.
And then going through and looking, having used a lot of gear and seen a lot of gear fail, like one of my big issues is always like when the karambit fad popped out, right? You could tell who actually had played with and used knives with rings on them.
Yeah.
Because most of the rings are too small.
Far
right?
too small.
Most of the rings are too small. And the other side of it is, can you still get a full fighting grip without putting your finger in the ring? And those are the two things that can tell me whether someone is trained and played with it or not.
Yeah.
Right? How big is the ring, and can you still grab it grab it properly and use it under duress?
Yeah.
Without getting your finger in the ring.
100%.
And it's like, Sierra KT Bear Claw, great little knife. Ring needs to be about 30 to 40% bigger.
Yeah.
And it's nasty.
Yeah.
Right. But like, and I don't have monster hands,
Yeah.
but suddenly you can't now, right? It's too small of a blade.
Yeah. It doesn't live up to its potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very small amount of steel required to make that a way better tool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the bulk of the knives that you produce now are like you have a leaning towards bushcraft, and you're producing only
Well,
bushcraft knives, and you're working against Essie, and you're working against Randall, or
I wish I had time
mm-hmm.
to do bushcraft stuff. I have I have literally 40 years worth of notebooks and totes in my basement from drawing all these tools that I want to make over the years. And of course, they got better over time. I go
Mm-hmm.
back sometimes, I look at what 8-year-old me drew, and it's hilarious. But it is super beneficial to be able to look back, right? And you cannot be a shyster when you say, "Hey, I drew that," and you can go back and find when you drew it, right? So to answer your question, pardon me, I've been focusing on what I call get off me tools, right? I don't know who coined that term, but I've been focusing on stuff in that genre. So much like naming the company, I've
Mm-hmm.
been focusing on get off me tools, and I call them by number because I didn't want to take myself too seriously, try to come up with some cool name when I could have just focused my creative energy on making the tools.
Believe I have a number 6.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, the one where it's the reverse.
Yeah. Yeah. You have the reverse edge stubby.
Yeah,
So I started adding like little tail end to
sure.
describe the tool. So, I started it with get off me tool number 1. It's a glorified ice pick. They've been a lot of places. They've done a lot of work. I keep making them. It's just a simple point driven tool. But what's special about it, based on end users' feedback, is that it's simple. The sheathing on it is very minimal, and they can't break it. So it doesn't get left at home. It's not cumbersome, even though you chose to carry it, and it works. I've had guys try to punch them through all kinds of stuff, and they're fine, right?
What type of steel do you like? Do you tend to like everyone wants to use like, you know, VG10s and really kind of high end stuff, where I've seen great stuff out of like a 52-100 ball bearing steel or
Mm-hmm.
ABL or something like that, which is just
Yeah,
the stainless version of it.
yeah.
And like
This
I've seen guys who have made cleavers that they'll pound through a 10 penny nail at like a 61, 62 HRC
mm-hmm.
with the 52-100.
Yeah, and it's they can do that with scavenged scrap steels. If you just have an inkling of what that steel might be based on what the thing you're scavenging it from is,
Mm-hmm.
you can do this. I mean, all over the world, they're making stuff out of, truck springs and different stuff like that.
Leaf springs work good, man.
Yeah, very good. So
Just gotta get it straight.
straight enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I do not subscribe to the whiz bang super steel of the month club at all. And I like to reference Daniel Winkler, right? Daniel Winkler has a fantastic reputation in the industry for good reason. I believe he was just inducted into the Hall of Fame. Well, what does he use primarily? 82-100, 80 CRV2, all these very simple,
Normal stuff.
old steels. If you know how to heat treat it and you understand how to create the correct geometry for the tool, right? And frankly, if you're not taking your blade out periodically to inspect it and maintain it, you don't do that with your pistol. You don't do that with your flashlight. So why is it you need this amazing stainless steel?
My issue with the super steels, So one of the things that I find interesting about talking with Dave is Dave and I were both trained as machinists and both have material science backgrounds. So when like these are qualified opinions. What I find interesting about people want to get into these super steels. Firstly, the $1,200 fixed blade knife isn't going anywhere but in a safe.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to go through and get that thing wet with anything except for maybe some CLP.
Yeah.
That's the only thing it's doing. The other issue is it's a pain in the ass to sharpen,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so something like a 52-100, an ABL, 440C can do really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned heat treatment. Heat treatment matters to me more than the steel.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like you can take a 1015, case harden it, and do some wild shit with it.
Very wild.
Right?
Agreed.
And it's just like, what's the heat treatment?
No.
Oh, well, it's just, no, what's the heat treatment?
Yeah, I want to
like,
know to the nth degree. I want to know every detail. Yeah.
But if somebody's just like, oh, I got this nitro blah, blah, like,
so,
why? Right? Like,
I'm not impressed.
It doesn't, it's not going to give you skill. It's not an amulet,
No.
right, or a talisman. And so it, like, the steel that has this great edge retention, you can't start. It's difficult to sharpen it on a coffee cup.
So before all these fancy steels, before even S30V,
Mm-hmm.
guys in general did not know how to sharpen their knives. So I'm lost. How is it that having the fancy whiz bang steel of the month improved anything? Their edge might have lasted a bit longer for them if they used it at all. And then when it comes time to sharpen, your lack of sharpening skills, and now you need more advanced equipment. You think you're done. You're absolutely done. Right? So to your point, what kind of steel do I like? I like O1. I like A2. I like AEBL. I like 80 CRV2.
Just classic tool steels.
Yeah. And
D2?
Yeah, D2 is nice. It's not one of my favorites. I find that the balance there starts to tip in my experience.
Okay.
It's easier to sharpen an A2 at, a Rockwell of like 60 or 61C. Okay. It's easier to sharpen that than the D2.
Okay.
But the D2's higher spec alloy, right? It's got more nasty stuff in it, right? So it makes sense. So for me, A2 is a sweet spot. I have made thousands of blades in A2. And I mean, here in Canada, especially in Ontario, I can buy precision ground A2 stock.
Easy.
Almost from the corner store. It's everywhere. But that's what the manufacturing industry has been using.
Okay.
So, I mean, I grew up machining it through my career. I grew up heat treating it through my career. I have a very intimate understanding of what I can do with it. Yeah.
When we got big into the throwing knife space,
mm-hmm.
and it was when we first got into it, I got into throwing knives during the vid. I started working with a Russian coach. His name's Misha, and I learned to throw knives so they fly like darts. Like if you watch in slow motion, it flies like an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Guys were using all sorts of exotic steels. We used 440C.
Yeah.
We used a 440C analog, right? And so 440C, Chrome 12, right? Like stuff like that worked really, really well. It was easy to heat treat. It was available.
Mm-hmm.
And how well did it work? Well, if it's heat treated properly, you go through and you like good impact resistance, hit it with a hammer, right? Does it work, right? And to go through and get those steels to hold up is all heat treatment.
Yeah.
Because if you just go through and have a bunch of carbide inclusions because you cranked it all up. We had some stuff with some like the first knife maker that I used didn't understand that heat treatment was a multi-step process. I was like, what? Like, I was like, no. So like, what's your, like, so you go through, you take it up to here. Yeah. I said, okay, what temperature do you bring it up to after? What do you mean? I was like,
room temperature.
I'm like, oh, sweet baby Jesus does not approve of this.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
Right. But like when guys understand that, man, the stuff you can do with a bastard file. Holy. Like, wow. Right.
So going back when I was a wee apprentice,
Mm-hmm.
I got into throwing again. When I was a kid, I was into throwing, but we threw whatever. We were throwing saw blades and lawn darts and screwdrivers and steak knives and large nails,
Sure.
which, I mean, that actually really is congruent with the old tradition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's shuriken, right? So, I kind of brushed back up on that, and I went, and the one day they were doing cleanup around the plant, and they came by with the bin on the fork truck, and I went, Chester, what are you doing with all those files? It's like, oh, they're all going in the garbage.
Nope.
I'm like, no, they're not. I grabbed like this many files. This many files. They're all those Nicholson handy files. So they would keep a box in the foreman's desk and probably other places in the plant. And the guys would wear them out and then get another one. Well, the steel's still good. So I went through and I made a bunch of Tentogata, right? And angle grinder, shaped them. And then I used the refractory cement to differentially heat treat them, right? So I had a nice like section at the end that was sort of hard. But I knew enough at that point because we were doing heat treat right there on site. But it was like you could drive your truck into the heat treat ovens. So heat treating stuff like what I was doing in those ovens was an experience. It was very interesting. You learn quickly why they wear all the PPE they do because the amount of heat that comes in. First time I did it, I got a sunburn. I was an idiot.
Well, you get cooked with IR.
Yeah.
So just to backtrack, anyone listening at home or watching at home, a Tantogata, when shuriken are in a variety of ways, right? Hiragata, Kanagata, right? Tantogata. So Tantogata means from a tanto or a knife, right? So it was like a broken knife or something like that was repurposed. We talk about the refractory cement is he would go through and coat the top portion of it. He would then go through heat, and then the part that was covered in the clay wouldn't get cooled down quite as fast, so it would stay tougher. And that's why on a katana or something like that, you get the Hamon line or the Hamon line if you're an asshole, and it will be a variety of different patterns from tranquil sea to tsunami or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that's just kind of what we're talking as to how you get that differential tempering.
I gave it the shaky hand pattern. Like I'm on shift work and I had all the caffeine.
All of it.
Yeah, literally.
Speaking of which, what do you got there? Welch's?
I got a Welch's
Ghost Welch's. That goes hard.
I've never tried this before. It should be interesting.
I'm gonna rock the Bucked Up Energy Wild Orchard.
Oh wow.
Salute.
Cheers. That is good.
So you went through and have focused mainly on your get off me tools.
I did.
Okay, and so we're up to how many now? Like just your numbers.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of them that I've created.
Yes, there is.
There is a bunch of them.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for clarifying. That's it. I'm going home.
Well then, yeah.
There's quite a few, and there's gaps because there's things that I've made that I'm not happy with. I will not make something that not only am I happy with, and I have brutal standards, I send everything out through field testers. So I have guys who are end users who have become friends with over the years, guys who actually go places and do things. And I've said, you know what? It'd be really cool if I just sent you stuff. And if you feel like it's worth carrying, carry it. And then give me feedback. And this is how I evolve my tools. So there's stuff that will not see the light of day with anybody other than me or field testers until I'm happy. And if I'm happy, it's because they're happy. Right? Because they're the guys that are literally in harm's way or just, avid users. Right? So I am trying to I'm going to circle back here for a second. I'm trying to get into the outdoorsy side of things, but I've only got so many hours in the day. So I'm focusing on trying to round out my catalog of the get off me tools. So to answer your question about how many, on paper, I'm up to around 20. Okay. Right? But there's, like for instance, the get off me tool number 1, right? I introduced at the beginning of the year, the first bladed get off me tool number 1. It had been a point-driven tool since 2015. And I'm like, okay, I've been playing with this. The field testers have been playing with it. I'm going to start to release this. So I'm decided, well, what order? So just like me choosing to do the numbering system, I'm trying to keep everything very simple. I don't want my bandwidth taken up on trying to be smart or clever about the wrong things. So I get up until number one, compact variant. So I call it number one CV, right? It's just a short little thing.
Yep.
And that's the 3-finger that we were playing with earlier.
Okay.
And then there is the EDC, which is a small fixed blade, but it's a full 4-finger grip.
Okay.
Which is, what you would kind of guess most people would be after, right? And then there's the number one proper, which is like, the 5-inch blade, the full grip,
Iterative design,
G10 scales.
Okay.
Whereas everything prior to that was very streamlined.
Okay.
Right. So it's just an example. Like that pattern is going to perpetuate all the way through the product line. So I'm working on that through the number 2 right now. And you didn't really ask, but the intention for this year is to be prolific. I'm going to put out so many designs that have been vetted now. I'm stopping other development and I'm working on just putting out all the stuff.
Just to meet the demand, right?
Yeah. So, but there's this side of it as a creative person. I have this creative drive and it really bothers me if my work doesn't get out there. I want to do things. I've proven that they solve problems, at least to my field testers' satisfaction. So I want that to get out there because I feel like it's useful. And I poured my soul into it and want this to happen, right?
I would assume at this point your stuff's been on 5 continents.
Probably.
Right.
I'd have to really think about it, but yeah, it's been all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we started doing D2A,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because it sounds like we have a very similar philosophy.
Yeah.
Right. When we would look at problems, we look at like, well, firstly, like, can I go through and make this 20% better? If I can't, I won't.
Yeah.
First, like, can I go through and look at what's classic? What's the thing that somebody really, really likes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did everyone hate about that? How do we go through and adjust that? There's some things that are perfect. Right? If I hand you a ball bearing and a file and say, hey, do what you can. If you do anything but hand it back to me, you screwed up. You made it worse. Right?
Yep.
There's just some things that have reached the pinnacle development.
Yeah.
But going through and finding out from the people that are using them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you look at the example of Niemeyer? South African gentleman. He was a recce, and he produced the best field webbing ever. It's like they call it after him. I think it's Niemeyer.
Is that like the load bearing, like
Yes.
waist mounted kit with the suspenders?
So it's got the suspenders, and then it's down there, and they're just like, you had to, like, there was your pack, and then there was that which had, a couple days worth of stuff in your ammo in case you had to drop and go.
Right.
And yeah, it was Niemeyer or Niehaus or something like that. I'll have to look it up and I'll post in the notes below.
Mm-hmm.
But he designed it, made it himself. Guys were just like coming to him, and he's just like some guy who's like, kicking doors and banging whores, buys a sewing machine because he couldn't get what he had.
Yep.
And then the government wanted to produce it, and then they got in there and made it better, right?
Naturally.
Which changed it,
Yeah.
right? So going through and like talking to people that are actually using this. Hey, I love this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, if they say I love this and you have a solution to that, like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But too often, right?
Yeah. Being approachable enough, unlike certain organizations, being approachable enough, the guy says, no, I really like this, and he wants something that's like a millimeter different, right? Because he's taken and gone to that next level. He says, wow, this guy's really improved this. I'm going to test it out and give him some good feedback. Those are your field testers, not whoever just happens to have it, right? And then you make it that millimeter different, whatever that minute little change is. Because how do you get to 20%? It's a little here and a little here and a little here. It's not just boom, one thing. Well, usually, like the ring on that you mentioned earlier.
Well, which
that
your stuff all has rings. Well, pardon me, not all has rings, but the number 6 does.
yeah, my number 6 is,
But the ring, like,
yeah, it's basically the only
is
thing.
the ring is significant in size, and I can still the stubby I can't, but the regular number 6 I can go through and grab it without putting my finger in the ring
Yeah,
and still get a full grab.
and that's the intent. You can't expect someone to always get their finger in there. So you have to be able to grab it, and it actually works quite well. You grab it, there's this bulbous thing, the
Yeah.
ring. You grab it, and it comes out, and you've got a big thumb cap, and you can go to work. And then you can put your finger in the ring if there's time at some point later. So it works both ways.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So you are how is it that you're doing knives? Is it a pre-order? Are you having stuff in stock? Is it a mailing list and somebody can maybe get them? Because you're doing a fair amount of volume
Yeah,
for a small shop. Because
one guy operation. Yeah. So to try to answer that directly, I tried the pre-sale thing. Don't do it, kids. Is a bad decision.
people get mad.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm sorry, everyone. I appreciate your patience. There's been people who have been very patient with me, and I don't take that lightly. I'm still just on the tail end of cleaning up my last pre-sale. It is an unmitigated disaster. I will never do it again. So to answer your question, no, I'm not doing pre-sales. Are you crazy?
Because
Mhm.
because Uncle Jeff went through and people want to order in the morning, they want it there in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And something takes 6 weeks, it's just no.
Yeah. And
No.
people, they mean well. They go, oh yeah, I want to support so and so. I'm going to order the thing. I can wait. But they're marinated in this microwave culture, and they just get so impatient.
Well, it's hard when you're trying to scale things, right?
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that I ran into where it's okay, it's a blessing and a curse when you start to grow, because I want to give the best service as you do. It's the Canadian way, right? So it's but I can't be everyone's buddy now,
Yeah.
right? I don't like pre-orders just means that I'm getting if I pre-ordered 200 units and I said they're going to be there in 6 weeks, at 4 weeks I got emails started to come in. I don't have the time to respond to those emails
And now
and
you're a
still get this
jerk.
stuff done, right?
Yeah.
And it's oh, and so it's tough.
It's very tough.
It's
Yeah.
tough, but also being a working stiff like everyone else, trying to go through and put this stuff out there.
Yeah.
And okay, well, you bankroll it initially out of your own pocket, right? So
Yeah. It's very tough. That's why I say don't do it. Nobody means you harm by emailing you and saying, hey, what's the status? But until they've been in your shoes, they don't understand how this is just a vicious cycle that's going to snowball, and it's going to make their order take longer. And it's
well, everyone's right, and you go
yeah,
through and you look at if you got big mitts on you like you do, an email can take 15 minutes to respond to, especially on your cell phone.
holding your little phone.
Right, eyes aren't working the way they used to. Right?
Well, you've been working for 15 hours, and that's no excuse.
Yeah,
But you're not at optimal speed,
yeah.
right? And it's I don't make any excuses. It's just don't do it. I learned my lesson. I don't do it. So to answer your question, right now I do drops.
Okay.
Right, I'm trying to do weekly drops. That's not working so well currently. I had some hiccups with supply chain stuff. I hate even saying that out loud, but we're nearly back on track. So I'm going to be getting back into doing weekly drops. How that works is there's a newsletter, and I'm starting to experiment with having a list. And my newsletter and list, what's the difference? I want to have it so that if you want a number one CV, you sign up for that list. I don't want you being spammed with just everything FLC knives related, unless you want to be. in which case you can be on the newsletter and the number one CV list or the number 6 reverse edge list and so on. Because we can do that now. It's not hard, right? So that is what I'm trying to roll out right now. I think it's going to be a little bit of work for me to set up or finish setting up, but it's going to, I think, help people get what they want. But it's also, I think it's going to help me understand better what people want. Because if you have 1,500 people signed up for this and 2 people signed up for that, probably you should make a run of which one, right? So you kind of steer yourself and at least try it. And I'm hoping I'm going to learn something from that experience, right?
So with rolling out the thing, right? Rolling out the list of all the prolific designs.
Mm-hmm.
How big are your batches?
Well, it's a good question.
Right, like how fast does someone need to hop on it? Like, is it a batch of 5, 55,
So
5,500?
yeah. So right now I'm working in sort of around the 25 pieces range for a batch. And that'll have me working on multiple batches like per week, right? So it'd be a batch of number 1 CV and a batch of the new number 6, right? Say reverse edge, right? Because they're pretty popular, right? And I'm scaling my internal processes to be able to do that as efficiently as possible. So for how fast should people hop on it? Pretty quick. This stuff usually sells out in. Now there's the odd time I'm puzzled because what happened? You make a drop and it's like crickets, which I think is just me being a bonehead and timing things poorly, or I didn't do enough lead up, right? Because it invariably when I do that, things kind of peter out afterwards, and then a couple of people come barging into my inbox. Oh, where's this? Where's that? I'm like, oh,
There is seasons for everything.
yeah,
Right? Like there is a back to school season,
yeah,
right?
literally,
Like there's an after Christmas window where people are still looking and hot to trot
mm-hmm.
on what the latest thing is.
Yeah,
Right? And so I always tell people like the sales season looks like a W.
mm-hmm.
Right? Like January is really good, kind of drops down. Tax return happens, things are good, goes down in the summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back to school in the fall, right? Like tapers off, kind of people like, I just want to wait to see what's going on Black Friday, then all the way up.
Yeah,
And so it's like to just understand that happens. And no, it's not that nobody loves you anymore,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
enjoy the downtime,
yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, you use that time, right? Don't sit there and overproduce. Use that time to bolster your processes internally, right? Fix your stuff, get your lists going, like I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Work on your literal manufacturing process. Work on your relationships.
So are you using like a lean or a 5S or a 6 Sigma? I have a strange relationship with them, with those processes. There's some things that are great about it, but some things that are terrible.
Yeah. So I apprenticed at a company that was an ISO 9000 whatever
Sure.
company. And we went through a season. I was there for about 6.25 years. Went through this season where they were hiring like a 5S consultant and a lean consultant and some other whatever whiz
Six
bang.
Sigma, or
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
something. And I have all the certificates at home in my binder. It's like, what the heck? So, the one consultant would come through and would say, paint the floors gray. And the next would come through and say, paint them white. You know, we broke off into teams and we repainted our areas. We did all the stuff, made no money while we're doing that. We're supposed to be running machines, right? And I ultimately got kicked off because I kept asking these questions. And then afterwards, I was trying to implement stuff that seemed like it would move the needle. So I would talk to the consultant and, I'd actually like get into serious conversations with them. And I would try to do this stuff. So just like anything, you could be a real real dork about it. Or you can take the useful parts, apply it, and move on.
I
Right?
worked at a facility. It was a remote site, and somebody had come in and got all hot to trot about Lean and 5S. For anyone that doesn't know, Lean, 5S, Six Sigma all comes out of Japan, Toyota Motorola. It's what basically took Japan to be an economic powerhouse starting out in about the 70s
Yeah.
up into about the 90s, right? And it was technology, it was everything, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, we have this space in the warehouse, and right, and I figured out that square footage of space in the warehouse is worth roughly this much per square foot.
Oh no. I know
And
where this is
so,
going.
like we have these, right, this motor or this valve or this here or that there, and this is a large manufacturing
Mhm.
setup, right? It was a very large uranium producer. It's like, okay, so that's worth this much and that's worth this much, and like look at the footprint that this has taken up. This has cost us this much just in square footage. So, like they were told to, they took it out to the landfill. This is the middle of nowhere. This is like way up north, like way far into the panhandle, like it is in the middle of nowhere, right? And you wind up with a situation where like it doesn't survive black swan events, because if I'm like, well, if I warehouse this and that's worth $100 a square foot per day,
Mhm.
okay, well that's great. And I was like, well, I'm not going to warehouse this, and you're my supplier. And I'm like, Dave, I'm going to get it from Dave, and Dave is also taking the same thing. He's like, well, I'm not going to warehouse this. It's $100 a square foot per day. And then you go all the way down the supply chain to the company that produces this and say, well, we just do these castings on this body once a year, and then we kind of machine them as needed, because like otherwise it's just kind of sitting there taking up this $100 a square foot per day.
It is cheaper to have the raw casting sit there
We just
than
do
the
that,
finished
and then we
machine
toss them in
casting.
there. And we like someone gives us an order, so we put in the workflow, and about 2 weeks later it goes out. But the problem is, like this guy, it takes him 2 weeks from the time he gets this order, and then he ships to this guy, who ships to this guy, who ships to this guy, who ships to this guy. But the problem is, the end user, they send their order in and sends it to this guy, to this guy, to this guy, to this guy, and then finally this guy down here gets in and says it's 2 weeks. But it took 2 weeks to get there, right? By the time that order got there. And then if you start looking at like, especially when you start dealing with like international, right?
Yeah.
Anything going across the pond takes 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It is a minimum of 6 weeks to get something from one side of an ocean to another, right? On
So
on a
painful.
ship, right? Because it's about a month to get across. It's right, and say a week to get from the port. So
Mhm.
now we wind up with a situation where this thing that is a single point of failure
Mhm.
that we don't have any backups for is 3 months away, and our downtime is costing us on the low side $100,000 an hour
Yeah.
on the low side.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
worse
so
than a stamping facility.
and you're just like,
Yeah.
and so
It's
seeing
brilliant.
situations where literally you had tradesmen, like mechanics and machinists, out there at a landfill where this stuff that was brand new was sent, rummaging through garbage trying to find the part, trying to find a spare part.
Yeah.
So for me, whenever people are like, oh yeah, we use lean, it's like, please tell me how it is you used it.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't pay attention to everything and you didn't add the filter of reason,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to make hilarious mistakes.
Yeah. I haven't gone that far
Okay.
in making hilarious mistakes. So when you're a one guy operation,
Mm-hmm.
all these things you're describing, so painful. So painful. But it's all you, right? Whatever you chose to do, you did, and you have to live with it. So I used to do, because I did all the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I talked to all the suppliers. I tried to find that sweet spot where there's, that economy of scale, but I didn't have to drop $100,000 in steel, right? So with a lot of things, you're going to find it's, 200 pieces, right? 200 pieces will get you a bit of economy of scale. They'll waive this cost and they'll give you a bit of a price break, and a little bit of a price break on 200 pieces. It's heads up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you're looking at it like knife maker math, right? It's like, well, how many knives does it cost me? So,
Mm-hmm.
on a batch, if you go, well, I'm going to get 200 pieces water jet cut and it's this much less than, say, 50, right? Because the per piece costs. And you go, well, geez, I get a few free knives, right? And then you go, and it's going to cost me one knife in shipping,
Mm-hmm.
knife maker math,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I I was doing batches of 200. It just took me too long. There's this like if you got the flu, if you got a cold, if you have a family emergency of some sort, somebody dies. All these things throw you off schedule so bad that you can't, in my opinion, as one guy, do batches of 200. I tried, right?
To finish, I would say you couldn't. But like as an example, depending on how your billets are being done on your number 6 tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can go through and get the billet done so you can do you can do reverse a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reverse a trainer or regular.
Yeah, all out of one blank.
Right, and like you could even if you're willing to give up the steel,
Mm-hmm.
right, even do the one, right, so your stubby, so one blank will do all this, and then it just depends on,
You're paying for it either way,
yeah.
right? If your steel supplier is doing their job correctly, not losing money, whether the angle goes this way, or if it's rounded, it's basically the same amount of steel because that's a drop now that
Mm-hmm.
they're scrapping.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really. So you just have to be intelligent. But that's the lean way, is making it so that you have less skews if you can minimize your skews. So if you do in fact have a forward edge and a reverse edge, and a trainer that is either both or a trainer for both, you may have 4 skews, but you could have one blank.
Yes,
So when I say you can't do 200, you can buy 200,
but
but
just
you,
to fruition.
yeah. So you can't sit there and machine. I'll do this anymore either. But you could sit there and machine side one
Mm-hmm.
on 200 pieces. This is a lean sin. You're going to lean hell, right? Because it's work in process, right? And this is lean 101. Your work in process is money that you've spent. So you try to minimize your work in process. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that this blade, this piece of steel, needs to become a finished blade as soon as possible. Not, I'm going to do one operation out of, pretend they're 4 ops. If you do 25% of the work on all of them, you've got that whole steel cost sitting there that cannot possibly ever be made in anything else now.
And your time into it
Exactly.
that hasn't been
All that sunk
recouped.
time. Now, if somebody makes a mistake at the end of that and you realize that there's 200 pieces, all the op ones are wrong, you've got a lot of scrap. So you've got incentives all along the way to try to not do that, right? So if you finish parts, so I do like a one piece flow, right? Where I have a pallet and I put a part on, I do op one and I move it over. Then I start it again, I do op one and op two, then I move them over, and so on and so forth. So say there's 3 operations, right? Now every time I run that cycle, I get a finished blade. So now I know very quickly I might scrap 3 before
Mm-hmm.
if I scrap 3 and then I catch it.
Put your dowelpin on the wrong spot.
Yeah, whatever,
Like that,
right?
yeah.
Some little thing. 3 blades, big whoop. From a manufacturing perspective, that is a very soon place to find it. Because usually, even if you did a batch of 10 and you found it on op 2 that all 10 were scrap,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot more than 3. Right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm working on having that weekly turnover now. rather than however long it took to do 200 pieces.
Also, I mean, when you're dealing with production, when you're dealing with with something that's very much client and customer driven,
Mhm.
right? And what I mean by that is you're not dealing with a Cabela's or a Bass Pro, but
Yeah.
you're dealing with, you know, right, Murray down the street, or this guy that wants one.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to wait all month,
No.
right?
No.
So like to be able to go through and do a weekly cycle. Hey, we're doing this. We're gonna have these ready next week.
Yep.
These next month, I mean, that's 2 paychecks, 4 paychecks to potentially,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some guys are getting paid every Friday, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, well, that's a ways away. And so going through and looking at things in terms of like, what is the attention span,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I
100%.
mean, working that into a lean type of operation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have some stuff coming out with textiles that we're going to be doing on a very high end, and going through and dealing with from a perspective of, okay, well, I want to go through and minimize my inventory,
Mm-hmm.
just because the like my cost on these things is very very high.
Oh,
So
yeah. Brutal.
right, like
There's your lean sin. You got too
my
much
cost is very
inventory.
high. So it's like with jackets, right? But I don't want the lead time too long. So it's like, okay, well, I can have, right? I will estimate 2 weeks from the time an order comes in to ship. Well, I know how long it takes to make that from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do an inventory of one small, three medium, three large, three XL, one double XL.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm doing that is because if I sell one jacket, I want that jacket to be able to go out right away. We already know and have put into the workflow that we know we need to make more jackets. All right, so we run out of mediums. Okay, we're gonna right. We know we're making 3 mediums. Whatever we need to do to bring everything up to par.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's put in the workflow, and now I don't have my team because I went over and set up a small shop, right? Like set up the machines, everything. We're not just like scrambling around. Like we know at the end of week on Friday
Yeah.
what we're doing on Monday. We know that Reggie's running down and he's getting the material, so we can write on Monday, so they can be starting on Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can do this so we're not as reactive, but we can not have huge inventory, which is good and allows us to pivot. There's a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. We want to make an iteration on the design. We're not happy with this type of zipper, right? To make those changes. But to
Yeah.
go through and find the hybrid,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, because some people say, well, we want to go through and it's easier to just do all of step one, all of step two. That's simpler. Is it though? Right? We're with what you're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
right? We know that by the time we get the third one in there, the fourth time we turn the machine on, we have a finished product that we can check.
Yeah. That's invaluable. And it, like you say, it doesn't just apply to, machining metal. The philosophies, the concepts here scale across to everything. And it's the sooner you can learn, the more information, the more data you can get sooner. Something meaningful, super valuable, super
100%.
valuable. So like for instance, with me running pallets of parts, you could choose if you wanted to. You could choose to keep that pallet queued up. You could leave the tools on there, and then if you needed one, you could put it on the machine. You could load the program. You could hit go, and you could take that one finished one off, finish it, tumble it, laser it, sharpen it, whatever, put it in a sheath and mail it. So you can be a lot more responsive doing things that way. Because I'm not getting Reggie to run down to wherever. It's me walking up to the shop and going, we need that. Okay, this here, push go. Right. So operating that way, there's still inventory, but the inventory has less cost in it. Right.
Talking to my guy, Dr. Chocolate, from Ronin Energetics, who I've been working with forever.
Mm-hmm.
and like how systems are set up for manufacturing. A lot of system, right? Like they love getting into the SAP or the SAP or the
Mm-hmm.
Maximo or kind of whatever, and everything's all digitized. But when you're a smaller operation, the time to cycle the computer on and open up SAP to do that
Mm-hmm.
is a pain.
Yeah.
So he's wound up using an analog inventory system where he has colored magnets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he right? Like when he goes over to get something, if he sees, like visually, he can see that something is less than 4, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, that's less than 4, right? He goes through, he takes his red magnet off. He's off of that. He sticks it over here into the chart.
Yep.
Boom. This is what we're right. And he does that just because he's got this kind of right here. So it's kind of labeled. He goes, and he knows that later on when he goes through and does it, that
Yep.
he needs to go through and that he's ordering. Now he knows that he always orders 20 to pick a number of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that uh, could be ball end mills, it could be burr tools, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
because going through and doing a lot of CNC manufacturing on composites are incredibly abrasive on
The
tools.
glass is nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do it wet, kids.
Yeah.
Like your lungs will feel a lot better.
Yeah. Your
Right?
lungs will be alive to thank you.
But kind of going through, it's like, hey, I'm out, right? Like I'm down to my last pack on this. Boom. I know my lead time in the last 2 packs. Okay, boom. And then at the end of the week, he goes through, knows that, okay, I got to order this. How
Mhm.
many? He always orders the same amount. Okay, cool. I got to go through and do that. I know my lead time is this. And
Mhm.
so he's using a hybrid analog system where he just goes through and opens his computer up once on this day and goes through and orders that.
Yeah.
And we'll over time adjust what those par levels look like.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can use the historical data, because you have it. You know, when I order these end mills from this manufacturer, typically they have this many in stock
Mhm.
at any given time. And, it takes this long to get them. Okay, I don't need to stock so many. I can have 5, 10. I order things in increments of 5 for consumables like that.
Okay.
Right. So I'll get a little handful of end mills. I'll get 5, or I'll get 10, or I'll get 15 or 25, whatever it is.
Do you have an automatic tool change, or are
Yeah.
you using like a 2 flute just so you can plunge and?
So I have an automatic tool changer. I have a 10 tool magazine on my Tormac PCNC 770. Right. That is my little CNC mill. I do not use the tool changer.
Do you have issues with getting a consistent zero?
No.
Okay.
No. I have been playing with this for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've devised. Now you got to remember, when I started out, I had a little desktop CNC mill that I could curl. My current CNC mill weighs 660 pounds.
Just a little fella.
Yeah. So,
What's your bed on it?
14 by 7.5 is
Okay.
my travel, my X and Y. Right.
And your Z?
Jeez, I don't even know. Everything on machine is this thick. So I strive to keep that as low.
Okay, so you're a straight 3-axis. You're not looking at a 4 or 5-axis.
No.
Okay.
I could put a fourth.
Do you have a room for rotary index?
I have room for it. Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't chosen to do that.
I got something to pitch you on later.
Oh boy, this will be fun. So I had that little desktop unit, and I had a fourth on it, and I made a lot of, weird stuff for other companies that I had prior,
Mhm.
right? But I made that thing work for me, and it didn't have
the fourth axis.
Yeah.
Okay. So length, right? So you have your length is your X.
Yep.
Right. Your Y is your across. Your Z is up and down, and then on a mill, your fourth axis is a rotary index. So it allows you to rotate something and have a repeatable zero. So say you wanted to go through and
flute a barrel.
Flute a barrel.
Yeah. Like you'll see a lot of YouTube videos where guys are fluting barrels.
Multi-start threads.
Yeah. Multi-start threads.
Right. So where you want to go through and have some type of a helix or something like that, it allows you to rotate this. Fifth axis is typically an articulating head, but good luck finding I've just seen them not be very rigid.
Well, you're going to find that there's less and less articulating head 5-axis machines, and it's, there's a, instead of a table, right, you're going to have like a kind of a trunnion. So these two knuckles, and then there's a bit of a saddle, and then there's a platter. So this can move like so, and the platter can rotate.
Okay.
So you could take, and you could just put a square part on there, and it would actually make you more efficient because you can machine 5 out of 6 faces. So more and more, like about probably, last I checked, is about 70-80% of the work that's done on 5-axis machines is not multi-axis machining, like not simultaneous multi-axis.
Okay.
It's 4+1.
I was at Blade Show a couple of years back, and obviously I had to go through and talk, like, see the guys who had the big machines going.
Mm-hmm.
The guys were talking with like 7-axis, and I was like, "I'll bite."
Yeah.
What are the 7-axis?
Yeah. Where else does it wiggle?
Like I got 5 of them, but and they just basically gave me a bullshit answer, right? That like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
There's, it gets weird. Like I've run, anything over the normal amount of axis, like on a mill, typically you have 3 axes. On a lathe, typically you have 2 axes. Typically. So anything that's called multi-axis is more than the norm, right? So I've run multi-axis lathes. Well, they've got like a, it'll move a little here, so you can do some slotting, or things like that. The 5-axis mill is where things get really interesting.
They used to be ITAR controlled.
Yeah.
Right? There used to be export controls on 5-axis milling machines.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a competitive advantage. What people don't realize is your manufacturing ability. It's literally like a national defense issue. It, it just blows my mind. Why did we offshore all our work? When I was in high school, I took the last year of machine shop that high school offered, because we weren't going to need to do that anymore. And I was not pleased because I wanted to do that. And I thought, how in the world can we rely on another nation to provide our critical stuff? So again, it's like you said earlier about thinking it through all the way, right? But selling this idea to a bunch of blue collar dudes that their sons and daughters were going to have a better life. That's sort of easy if nobody asks questions, but that's sort of what it looked like from my vantage point. Like my dad was multi-ticketed, millwright, electrician, all kinds of like refrigeration, HVAC, you name it, all this stuff. He was building, like when I was a little guy, when we made that first knife, he was making cardboard balers, like hydraulic cardboard baling machines with auto eject, all this stuff in our garage. Like, he could do some stuff, and he thought that I should want to do something cleaner. And I thought, what the heck would I want to do that for? I want to make things. I want to make the world go round. And
just the like with the advent of additive manufacturing, I think that we're at this kind of really neat spot where, and I mean desktop CNCs and stuff like that, where you can go through and have the tinkerers really come back.
oh yeah,
Like some of the stuff, like with Ronin Energetics, some of the stuff that I have had him build and that we have kind of in the catalog on the "if I don't know you, you're not seeing it," like wild stuff.
yeah,
But it's like that we're able to produce that and play with and develop those concepts, because otherwise you're just like, well, I mean, you kind of just. But if you don't have the ability to kind of go through and put those ideas through,
yeah.
like I look at it as, if you don't have the vocabulary to explain an idea, you can't really have it.
No.
So if you have an idea in your head for how a product will work, but you don't have the ability to flesh that out in a medium, you can't have that idea.
Yeah.
Right? And when you go through and you look at just like a basic gantry setup and an auto body level MIG welder, you can 3D print metal. You can get you can get a better density than you can with a casting,
Mhm.
right? You just got to
Yeah.
set it up and be patient.
Yeah.
Right. If you go through and really build something with like a big Lincoln Electric and you can hose it down, spray it in there, you can go through and rival. Actually, you could get better density than any casting, and just lay it all out.
Yeah.
And then you go through and take it, and then you can machine. It's like you can start doing really neat things.
Mhm.
But if you don't have the equipment, you can't do it. Like uh, Ronin Energetics built his first equipment from parts that he purchased,
Mhm.
right? Like the spindle was from this and that was from that. And it's like, and over time, as his equipment got better, he used that equipment to make himself better equipment.
Mhm.
Like getting plus or minus 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch off of something you built yourself.
It's a cool feeling.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's incredible. Right?
Yeah.
And like it's like for those that don't know at home, 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch is the thickness of a human hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Your average like printer paper or your like post-it notes is probably like 3.5 thou.
Right?
Right.
And he's doing that of stuff he built.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're really seeing this renaissance with the coming back of like additive manufacturing. And
Mhm.
now with additive manufacturing, like there's some of the PLA pluses.
Yeah.
Um,
It's wild stuff. It's very wild.
right? Like carbon fiber, glass, right? Inlays into, right? Like glass filament inside. Like you can start doing some wild stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super cool. The pendulum is definitely swinging back, and I am so glad because it wasn't the world I wanted to live in, thinking that we're going this direction. But now that we're coming back, it's like, okay, this is cool. I want to be a part of this.
Well, and going through and looking at, like to your point, from a national security standpoint, like your ability to manufacture.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you don't have the ability to make basic things, right? And that knowledge is so perishable, right? So we had so much tribal knowledge just left with kind of as the baby boomers are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So shifting gears, one of the projects that you and I are working on, we got the Gulag Gata sitting over there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a wooden mace, but Dave and I, kind of being Los Guerrillas del Norte, the guerrillas of the north, and kind of into combatives, what we found through a lot of testing was that a 2-inch handle offered a lot. No one was really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it, Dave, knowing he was a machinist, and he was asking me some questions about maces and clubs, which are kind of something I have a bit of a penchant for. There's a few things I have a penchant for, I guess. And I said, well, if I was going to do it, if I had access to your equipment, this is what I would do. So what Dave's got there is the prototype for the Gulag Gata. So this one's in ABS?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an ABS. We'll be doing it out of wood, just because it, like through all the testing, we just found wood feels a lot better.
Yeah.
And giving kind of an internal cap. But the 2-inch handle, just having done that Spartan race, found that a huge, like my grip didn't fail even though I was exhausted and kind of getting into that. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be leaning more towards this and kind of looking at, what do we have now? We have the Grizzly Gata, which is a 48. We have the Gamma Gata, which is 42. We have the Gulag Gata, which is
36.
36.
Yep.
We did a 30-inch, which is the
Kodiak. Or is it the...
Yeah, we got a Kodiak. Yeah, we got the Kodiak Club, which is 30, and then we got the 24-inch, pardon me, which is the Cub Club.
That's right.
So Cub Club,
Yeah.
Kodiak Club, Gulag Gata, Gamma Gata, and then the big 48, the Grizzly Gata. So we'll be working on some of those. Those will be coming out. So for those of you that haven't seen clubs before, Dave contacted me because he was asking about them because just for shoulder health, really.
Yeah.
But
100%.
You
What are you
got a
looking
clip
for?
on you?
Clip?
Yeah. So in kind of anyone's followed FLC knives for a while or knows anything about machinists will know that they are anal to say the least. And kind of looking at what was out there, finding plates that were thin enough.
Oh yeah.
That the outside diameter wasn't too much.
Yep.
Because when you start moving around these larger plates, it becomes an issue when they start kind of banging into you. So going through and just getting that clearance was kind of really nice. So having something that would allow kind of that to come up. But this type of circular strength really wound up kind of paying off. And then going through, and we started out initially was with the Gulag God, I think, because it allowed kind of that type of flow work to go laterally, where with the longer ones it was a lot more difficult, and then still being able to kind of go through and do your two-handed stuff if you wanted to. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
and then
the 36 is super versatile.
Yeah.
Right. I just naturally gravitated to the 36,
Okay.
right? So, for grabbing onto stuff, if you're into grappling, right? Like I was a butcher for 6 years. So at the time, I was pretty good at grabbing onto fleshy things and not letting go. And I really got kind of a kick out of grip training at that time.
Yeah.
And have kind of come and gone from it. So I have a number of fat grip tools that I've made over the years. So when you started doing the 2-inch Gata, it just immediately, oh, this guy's on to something, right?
One of the things that I found really interesting as a grappler is like, if you go through and measure a full-sized man's wrist, it isn't much more big. It isn't much bigger than me grabbing a hold of this.
Yep.
And so, just as far as how it is that translated, and then like I said, just having done that Spartan Beast, it's like, okay, well, a lot of these are. I mean, realistically, it's the outside down or scaffold pull, which maybe 2 3/8.
Yeah, we're gonna have to measure it, but it's in that neighborhood.
Yeah, like 2 3/8, 2.4 inches in the outside diameter, and I found that it actually worked really, really well. And as we're kind of getting more and more into strength training, and if I could go back and give the advice to my younger self, it would have been train your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So like having done a bunch of iron palm stuff, having done the sandbag training, starting to get into the grip. Right, it's just the role that it plays in neurological health, as well as just it's kind of real strength. So Dave and I got kick started on that, and then it snowballed. We got a whole bunch of grip training stuff coming out for you, and we're gonna be making it all here. So we're pretty pumped about that.
Yeah.
Whether it's dragon orbs, doing some stuff with large diameter shot, and kind of large diameter clubs, all of it.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with it. And my shoulders, like we were talking earlier, my shoulders are really what drove me to get back into the mace stuff.
Okay.
Like, honestly, my shoulders feel so good. But you have to be careful. Be intelligent, right? So there's going to be some programming, right? You got to follow the guidance. And my right shoulder is my bad shoulder. It's been pretty happy. My left shoulder was acting up a little bit.
Okay.
So I started doing those singles I was talking about.
Yeah.
Really focusing on the form, not letting the guarding creep in. A couple of weeks of that. Just doing it a few times a day. 2 reps on that shoulder, a couple times a day. It's feeling better.
Frequency is more important than duration.
Yeah.
Especially when we're learning that new skill, we're accessing those new ranges. For me, what I find really interesting, so the Gata and clubs in general, right? Like from Iran to India, they've been used for years. And having seen kind of all of them kind of coming together, one of the things that seemed to really hold people back was the steel maces and stuff like that were out there. It's these big jumps. And then your balance really changes. And so the reason that I like the plate loaded ones is you can go through and go up 2.5 pounds. You can get little change plates go up, 1.25 pounds. And so now we can drive the volume up. We can get that form.
Yeah.
And so from working with that, and then a couple tips I got from Kirsten O'Brien out there in Mississauga, Diary of a Fitness Junkie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm doing this with over 60 pounds now. I'll be at 40 kilos or 88 pounds before the end of the year, and moving weights with one arm that I was not able to move with two before. And so it's like, and doing it on the 2-inch shaft.
Yeah.
So it's just like seeing the difference in the hands, but also just the ability to walk your way up, right? Like I don't have to grab a 20 and try to get it going like, whoa, right? I can start at 20 pounds,
Yeah.
25 pounds, 30 pounds, 35, and build it up. And I attribute a lot of that to the increases in weight that I've been able to move. Like over 60 pounds is not nothing on one of these.
No, it's quite meaningful.
And so to be able to do that and then see how that's translating into kind of other aspects is pretty neat. So, and making sure that we got a full length instructional video and everything on how to go through and kind of make that happen so somebody can enjoy it, because it's one of those things where with the wrong technique, you'll hate your life. But as soon as you can kind of start making that work, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for me, it's made the training fun again. So between, trying to fix my shoulders up and then enjoying it.
How was it you banged up your shoulder? How didn't you bang it up?
High mileage living.
Yeah.
So I was a butcher.
Sure.
So anyone who knows anything about butchers, you're going to jack up your shoulders. There's repetitive motion.
Okay.
Right. So when you're deboning, you've got your edge down and in.
Okay.
Right. And you're going and you're doing this. So the miles on your shoulder are just terrible. So if you add that to the usual, dude thinking he's a hero when he starts into this young and moves a 500-pound bone can.
Yep.
Your meatheadedness often contributes, but the repetitive motion's crazy. So I did that for about 6 years. And then I got working construction, right? Because I was a big fan of having like 2 jobs. And I was pulling a 40-foot truss up a ladder, had a guy on the other end, and I'm climbing, I got it like this. And suddenly there was this pulling sensation. And I looked down, I didn't let go. But I mean, I was just fresh out of the meat room, like I'd grip strength like crazy. I was just hanging there with this 40-foot hanging there, but at the bottom let go. So everything here just went. So I informed him that he should get a hold of that end again. And, that didn't feel very good. But what I discovered is, because I was working out at the time as well, I went to the gym and I was doing dumbbell presses. And I was going along and I'm like, this feels weird. And my arm just went like that. Just the shoulder just stopped working. But it didn't hurt. It just stopped working. And then I tried it and I could do it and it would fall again. It's like, no idea. In typical brainy fashion, I didn't exactly get that diagnosed or anything. I just kind of babied it and worked through it. So, leading forward today, and also, lots of crashes and stuff, but that was the key moment.
Going through and finding the right ways to work through the guarding patterns and stuff like that with the mace matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's that one exercise where, right, like that one-handed exercise where you're just kind of going through and letting yourself get comfortable with this.
Yep.
Right, so you can pull that up and kind of going through and pulling that up and just getting that stretched out.
Yep.
Because otherwise, you wind up, you're in there and you're like, and then wondering what's happening, and then you're pulling yourself all out of shape.
Yeah.
And you can't kind of connect. So
and you're hurting yourself because you're trying to protect yourself because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So your body's tensing and firing all these impulses, and you're just not flowing, right?
What I find neat about the mace is there's certain things you learn, right? Just like in manufacturing, certain things you learn at certain points.
Yeah.
right? So like the higher volume stuff, there's a guy out of France, Mace Builder, I think is
Yeah.
his handle. And so he does really, really, really high volume
Hmm.
stuff. And so I put a post up a little while ago. I said, "Hey, I go through, and this is how I know when I can add weight to my mace. Right, when I can do a set of 3 in each direction. So
Hmm.
when I can come in and do the kind of like this, one-handed or two-handed. Right, I can do a set of 3 in each direction easily with both sides.
Yeah.
I know, and casually, I know that I'm good to go through and do that. I can do it for multiple sets."
Hmm.
And he said, "Well, when he does it, he's got to be able to do 20 in each direction for 10 sets. But the big difference is I can incrementally load. So it's like if I can do that, I know that I can go ahead and it's safe for me to go up that 2.5 pounds.
Hmm.
If I can do that cleanly for quite a few sets, I know it's safe. 6 sets of 3 in each direction on each side, total 12 reps with that weight forward and backward.
Hmm.
I know that I'm good to go." For
Yeah.
him, he goes through and uses 20. But because I can use the plate load and I use the incremental load and can really kind of go up. So some people chase the volume and they really kind of get that. And that will allow you to teach your body to really use different things and
Hmm.
be efficient. And that'll help you with the bigger stuff. Because when I go through and start tossing that 60 pounds around, I really have to use that pump step and really start looking and chucking it over.
Yeah.
I just find it so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. The body mechanics really come out at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I was pushing my, my homemade mace, bamboo, cast concrete ball, pardon me, I was out by the pool in the summer. I get my torso good and hot in the sun. I'll be out there playing with the kids. And then I would start and I would do sets. And by the end of the summer, I'd be doing 1,000, right? 1,000 reps in a session. That felt really good. But I was more or less accidentally following his methodology,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was going, okay, I'm building this stamina and greasing this groove and, lubricating everything in there. And my shoulders felt so good.
Which here's the thing, that's a great way to approach it. And you
Yeah.
can go out and you can approach it with the volume.
Yeah.
You can go through and you can approach it with the heavier weight.
Yeah.
And I like that there's that versatility. What I like about what we have going on is you have one tool, and you can decide what you feel like that session. Because there's some days, right? Like you just don't have things aren't feeling the way they should.
Yeah.
And so you're like, yeah, I'll back this off. I'll do more volume. But there's sessions I'll go out there like, yeah, and I'm just going to kind of just, a little shakeout. I was like, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And I wind up PRing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just the ability to just incrementally go up. And because, when you start getting to the heavier maces, it's a couple $100 each. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you can wind up with thousands of dollars in steel maces real quick when to go up, 2.5 kilos,
Yeah.
right, which is about 6 pounds. Well, that costs you another $200, right? And
Yeah.
so what I really like about what we're doing is that you can just incrementally kind of go up.
Yeah. We're capitalizing on what we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
We as a community in the, and just fitness in general, we know there's benefit in that incremental change and
Well established.
adjustability. Yeah, adjustability. So you want to, you said this to me the other day. You want to warm up, you're going to do a lower weight. Change
Mm-hmm.
it. You get to your work set or your work weight, jack the weight up. You want to go for a PR? It's that easy. Jack the weight up. Right. So
For me, I start every session, right? Like I'll post the heavier stuff on the gram because people dig it, but like
yeah.
I start every session, half of what my best is.
Yeah.
Maybe less, right? I toss 20 pounds on and then I'll work with that and then I go up.
Yeah.
And that's how I do every one. And I like that the balance stays more or less the same.
Mm-hmm.
With the other models that we've been kind of playing with, the feeling of wood versus steel. having the wooden handles
Yeah.
and the steel on the end, I like that better than powder coated.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Yeah,
tell you why I like it feeling better, but to me, it feels better, right? I feel it in my plums,
yeah.
you know.
We had the same phenomenon back in my old school traditional martial arts days. There was that desire from me as a machining nerd to make different implements out of different, kind of high tech materials,
Mm-hmm.
but you could not substitute wood. Wood was always the preferred medium.